The dawn of the atomic age, a race against darkness. Imagine a desolate stretch of New Mexico desert under a starless night sky in July 1945. A group of the world's brightest minds huddle in bunkers miles away, their hearts pounding as a countdown echoes through the silence. At exactly 5:29 a.m., a blinding flash erupts, turning night into day. The ground shakes as a mushroom cloud towers 40,000 feet into the heavens, unleashing a force equivalent to 20,000 tons of TNT. This was no natural disaster. It was the Trinity test, the first detonation of an atomic bomb, born from a secret project that would forever alter the course of human history. What followed would end a world war, usher in a new era of terror, and force humanity to confront the godlike power it had unlocked. This is the true story of the Manhattan Project, a tale of ingenuity, peril, and profound moral ambiguity that captivated the American spirit and reshaped the globe. Our story begins not in the American Southwest, but in the laboratories of Europe during the turbulent 1930s. The seeds of the atomic age were sown in 1895 when German physicist Wilhelm Röntgen discovered X-rays, sparking a frenzy of research into radioactivity. By 1898, Marie and Pierre Curie had isolated radium and polonium, revealing the immense energy hidden within atoms. But it was in 1938 that the world teetered on the brink of catastrophe. In Berlin, chemists Otto Hahn and Fritz Strassmann, working with physicist Lise Meitner, who had fled Nazi persecution due to her Jewish heritage, split a uranium atom through nuclear fission. This breakthrough released an unprecedented burst of energy, enough to suggest that chaining such reactions could create a weapon of unimaginable destruction. News of this discovery rippled across the scientific community like a shockwave. In the United States, Hungarian-born physicist Leo Szilard, who had fled fascism in Europe, grasped the horrifying implications. Szilard, a brilliant and eccentric inventor who had patented the idea of a nuclear chain reaction in 1934, feared that Nazi Germany, with its advanced scientific prowess, would weaponize fission first. Adolf Hitler had already annexed Austria and was marching toward war. Szilard rallied fellow émigré scientists, including Enrico Fermi, who had escaped Mussolini's Italy, and Eugene Wigner. Together, they decided to alert the American government. But how to convince a president preoccupied with the Great Depression and isolationism? Szilard turned to the most famous scientist alive, Albert Einstein. On August 2, 1939, Einstein signed a letter drafted by Szilard warning President Franklin D. Roosevelt that extremely powerful bombs of a new type may thus be constructed. The letter urged the U.S. to secure uranium supplies and accelerate research. Delivered by economist Alexander Sachs, it reached Roosevelt on October 11, 1939, just weeks after Germany invaded Poland, igniting World War II. Roosevelt, ever the pragmatist, responded swiftly. This requires action. He formed the Uranium Committee, allocating an initial $6,000 for experiments. Little did anyone know, this modest start would balloon into the largest scientific endeavor in history. As war engulfed Europe, the U.S. edged closer to involvement. Pearl Harbor's attack on December 7, 1941, thrust America into the fray, and intelligence reports painted a grim picture. German scientists like Werner Heisenberg were pursuing an atomic bomb under the Nazi regime. In June 1942, Roosevelt approved the creation of the Manhattan Project, named innocuously after the Army Corps of Engineers' Manhattan District Office in New York City. Leadership fell to Brigadier General Leslie Groves, a no-nonsense West Point graduate who had overseen the Pentagon's construction. Groves was a bulldog of a man, stocky, blunt, and relentless. He demanded secrecy, efficiency, and results, famously declaring, "We are going to do this thing and we're going to do it right." Groves' first major decision was appointing a scientific director. He chose J. Robert Oppenheimer, a theoretical physicist from the University of California, Berkeley. Oppenheimer was an unlikely pick, a chain-smoking intellectual with leftist leanings, fluent in Sanskrit and fond of quoting the Bhagavad Gita. Yet his charisma and genius were undeniable. Oppie, as he was known, had a mind that could synthesize vast complexities. Under his guidance, the project would assemble over 130,000 people, cost nearly $2 billion, equivalent to $30 billion today, and span secret sites across the nation. The Manhattan Project was a marvel of wartime logistics. 3 primary sites were established, each shrouded in secrecy. In Oak Ridge, Tennessee, a rural area transformed into a bustling city of 75,000. Workers enriched uranium through gaseous diffusion and electromagnetic separation. The site, codenamed Site X, was so covert that residents received mail addressed to Atomic City. Women operated massive calutrons, giant mass spectrometers, without knowing their purpose, earning the nickname Calutron Girls. Challenges abounded. Uranium was scarce, and the process required staggering electricity, more than New York City at peak times. Yet by 1945, Oak Ridge produced enough uranium-235 for the bombs.
Further west, in Hanford, Washington, Site W, engineers built plutonium production reactors along the Columbia River. Led by physicist Glenn Seaborg, who discovered plutonium in 1941, the site featured the world's first large-scale nuclear reactors. Cooling them demanded 10,000 gallons of water per minute, risking environmental disaster if leaks occurred. Hanford's workforce swelled to 50,000, living in temporary barracks amid dust storms and isolation. Plutonium, a man-made element, was bred in reactors through neutron bombardment of uranium-238, then chemically separated in canyon-like facilities. The process was hazardous. One reactor nearly melted down in 1944 due to xenon poisoning, a phenomenon later understood as neutron absorption. The intellectual heart of the project beat at Los Alamos, New Mexico, Site Y. Perched on a remote mesa once home to a boys' ranch, Los Alamos became a secret laboratory where Oppenheimer directed bomb design. Groves purchased the land for $440,000, and by 1943 it housed 6,000 scientists, engineers, and families. Life there was a bizarre mix of genius and austerity. Nobel laureates like Niels Bohr, smuggled from Denmark under the alias Nicholas Baker, debated theories in makeshift barracks, while children attended school unaware of their parents' work. Security was ironclad, mail censored, phone calls monitored, and residents used aliases. Oppenheimer's wife, Kitty, managed the social scene, hosting parties to boost morale amid the pressure. The scientific hurdles were immense. 2 bomb designs emerged: Little Boy, a gun-type uranium bomb, and Fat Man, an implosion-type plutonium device. The latter proved trickier. Plutonium's fission properties required precise compression using high explosives. Hans Bethe led theoretical calculations, while George Kistiakowsky developed the explosive lenses. Experiments at Los Alamos involved tickling the dragon's tail, criticality tests where scientists like Harry Daghlian and Louis Slotin pushed neutron reflectors around plutonium cores, risking deadly radiation. Tragically, Daghlian died in 1945 after accidentally dropping a brick, causing a supercritical flash. Slotin followed in 1946 from a similar mishap. Espionage added layers of intrigue and danger. Soviet spies infiltrated the project, driven by Stalin's paranoia. Klaus Fuchs, a German-born physicist at Los Alamos, passed designs to Soviet agent Harry Gold. David Greenglass, a machinist and brother-in-law to Julius Rosenberg, leaked implosion details. These betrayals, uncovered post-war, fueled the Red Scare. Meanwhile, American codebreakers monitored German progress, relieved to learn Heisenberg's team lagged due to miscalculations and resource shortages. As 1944 dawned, the Allies gained ground in Europe, but Japan fought fanatically in the Pacific. The Manhattan Project accelerated. In December 1942, Fermi achieved the first controlled chain reaction under the University of Chicago's squash courts, using a pile of graphite and uranium. Coded message: the Italian navigator has landed in the New World. This proved reactors could produce plutonium sustainably. By early 1945, with Roosevelt's death and Harry Truman's ascension, the bomb neared completion. Truman learned of the project only after becoming president, briefed by Secretary of War Henry Stimson. At the Potsdam Conference in July 1945, Truman hinted to Stalin about a new weapon of unusual destructive force. Stalin, already informed by spies, nodded calmly. The climax arrived with the Trinity test on July 16, 1945, at Alamogordo bombing range, dubbed Jornada del Muerto, Journey of the Dead. Oppenheimer selected the site for its isolation. Scientists wagered on the yield. Edward Teller bet on 45 kilotons, while Isidore Rabi won with 18. The device, the gadget, perched on a 100-foot tower. As the explosion lit the sky, Oppenheimer recalled the Gita, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." Kenneth Bainbridge quipped to Oppenheimer, "Now we are all sons of bitches." The test's success sealed the bomb's fate. Debate raged over its use. Scientists like Leo Szilard petitioned against dropping it on cities, advocating a demonstration. But military leaders, including Groves, argued for maximum impact to force Japan's surrender and save American lives. Estimates of an invasion ran to 1 million casualties. Truman, facing a war-weary nation, authorized the strikes. On August 6, 1945, the B-29 Enola Gay, piloted by Colonel Paul Tibbets, dropped Little Boy over Hiroshima. The blast killed 70,000 instantly, with total deaths reaching 140,000 by year-end from radiation and burns. 3 days later, Fat Man devastated Nagasaki, claiming 40,000 lives immediately and up to 80,000 total. Japan surrendered on August 15th, VJ Day, ending World War II. The Manhattan Project officially disbanded on August 25, 1947, transitioning to the Atomic Energy Commission. Its legacy is profound and double-edged. It demonstrated American industrial might, employing diverse talents, from Navajo code talkers aiding security to African-American workers at Oak Ridge facing segregation. Women like Leona Woods Marshall contributed to reactor design, breaking barriers in science. Yet, the project birthed the nuclear arms race. By 1949, the Soviets tested their bomb, thanks partly to stolen secrets. The hydrogen bomb followed in 1952, escalating Cold War tensions. Environmentally, sites like Hanford leaked radiation, contaminating groundwater and affecting Native American lands. Morally, the bombings remain controversial. Were they necessary to end the war, or an act of terror? Historians debate, noting Japan's near collapse from conventional bombing and Soviet invasion threats. Today, the Manhattan Project sites form the Manhattan Project National Historical Park, preserving labs, reactors, and stories. Oak Ridge's Y-10 plant continues nuclear work. Los Alamos innovates in science. The project's alumni, like Richard Feynman, who played bongos to unwind, reflected on its human cost in memoirs. This epic saga,
from Einstein's warning to the mushroom clouds over Japan, encapsulates America's wartime resolve. It was a triumph of collaboration. Scientists from 20 nations, factories churning isotopes, spies lurking in the shadows. But it also warns of hubris. Unleashing atomic fire changed warfare forever, binding humanity in a fragile peace enforced by mutual destruction. As Oppenheimer later testified, the physicists have known sin, and this is a knowledge which they cannot lose. In the end, the Manhattan Project wasn't just about building a bomb. It was about harnessing the universe's fundamental forces amid global chaos. It saved lives by ending a war, but haunted generations with the specter of annihilation. For Americans, it symbolizes innovation's dual nature, a beacon of progress and shadowed by ethical quandaries. And in that tension lies its enduring fascination, a story that continues to astonish, inform, and provoke.